Right.
Oh, good. Oh, yeah.
Here's your weekly show here on the Blue Room. We are live on YouTube as well for anyone who's watching that. Thanks very much for joining us there as well. I am Matt Jones. I know it says Alex Keegan on my little box on Zoom here, but it's not. It is me. Dave's shaking his head there. Shoddy production as ever, Dave, from us.
We used to be professional at these things, mate.
It's my brother-in-law's Zoom now, and otherwise it'll just go off after 40 minutes, and that's even more professional, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty damning of our current financial state that we can't afford £6 a month, innit?
12 it is, I think.
Well,
so, you know.
Well, it takes
absolutely.
If you log out after 40 minutes, you can just log back in again and keep it going.
But I'd rather people have a wrong name in my box than have to wait for us to log in and log back out again. The voice you heard there, if you listen to the podcast, is Paul McPartland. Paul, are you well?
I'm fine, Matt. How about yourself?
Not too bad, mate. Yeah, not too bad at all. And Ben Crawford's here as well. Ben, how are you, mate?
I'm good, thanks, mate. Back in work, getting back to normal, and the football back on telly. So all's at the moment getting a little bit more back to normal life.
Wonderful stuff. Obviously, later on the show, we're speaking about Everton's game against Leicester City on Wednesday night. If you are watching this on YouTube, you've got any thoughts about that game? Any thoughts on the team selection and the lads Everton should be playing in that one? Let us know in the comment box. You want to get in touch with us after the show, it's at the Blue Room EFC on Twitter as always. And you want to get in touch with us individually, you can do via our Twitter account, which will be in the post. Something we should say more often as well. Leave us a review on iTunes if you can as well. We should ask, leave us a rating, leave us a review. Let us know what you think of the show. All these things help. All the pieces matter. So really appreciate that. So yeah, we're going to speak about Leicester a little bit later on. But the big Everton story today, Dave, I don't know if you've seen it because I know you've been working today, is Carlo Ancelotti forgot who Luke Garbett was. Or didn't know who Luke Garbett was. And it was all quite awkward and embarrassing, wasn't it?
Yeah, I can imagine heads are rolling at Finch Farm that he wasn't told that information beforehand. It was just comical, wasn't it? The way he just turns directly to whoever's sitting next to him on the media team and saying, who? And you know what? I initially laughed my head off of it because, I mean, Luke Garbett did himself. He handled it really well. I don't know if you've seen, just before he left, he put on a compilation of his best moments since he was on loan and things like that. And he said, see what you're missing out on, Carlo. So I think he's taken it in the right spirit. But I tell you what, I bet you somebody like Carlo Ancelotti, of his professionalism, he will not be happy that he's not being briefed about that.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough, isn't it, Paul? And already I've seen people taking extreme stances on this. Some people think it's hilarious. Some people think it's a bit shameful and a bit embarrassing for the football club. But it's probably just the sort of thing that happens when you've got a new manager in who's probably not met Luke Garbett before he's been at the football club.
No, I think that's right, Matt. I think somewhere in between the two, isn't it? As Dave said, someone should have briefed Ancelotti about Luke Garbett and make him at least aware he's on the staff. Because, as you say, Carlo would have had no contact with him whatsoever. And presumably because Luke was never going to figure in his future planning for Everton, so why would he even be aware of the guy? So it is kind of poor background support there for Carlo when he's facing that interview. But as Dave said, I've been following Luke Garbett's Twitter response today, and he's come across really, really well. He's not busy, he's not angry, he's not gone off on one. He's taken in the spirit that it was meant, and I think he's done so some quite considerable credit by his considered reaction to some players could have got quite stroppy about.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fair enough, isn't it, Ben? Just was going to ask all of you: have you ever anything like that ever happened to you before, where you've forgotten who somebody is or forgotten someone's name or something like that?
I just thought your name was Alex Keegan.
Yeah, fair enough.
Is it not? It's
no, it's not.
I thought it was Alex Keegan.
Oh, Ben,
you were asking for that, mate.
Do you know what? Just a little story about that. This morning, I had Pete Selby on, who's obviously for Fox 8 podcast, and he's very busy this morning. Obviously, stuff going on in Leicester at the moment, all the stuff they're doing. And we had a good chat about Everton in the game at the weekend. And people who listen to us on Blue Room Extra wouldn't know this because I edited it out at the end. But I think he just sort of thought halfway through that he was speaking to a Scouser and thought it was a Liverpool fan. And at the end of the conversation, he went, I just want to say as well, congrats to Liverpool for winning the league. You've been unbelievable. I just sort of sat there like, do I say something here or do I just let him go on? So I just pretended that it was all fine. And when I put the tweet out for our Blue Room Extra show earlier on, he texted me saying, oh yeah, just realised what happened. So,
well, is Alex Keegan a Liverpool fan though?
Alex Keegan is a Liverpool fan. Yeah,
There you go. That's why he was saying congratulations. He thought it was Alex Keegan.
Keegan's ticket holder red, but I was on my account then because it wasn't a 40-minute
Yeah.
chat. So there we go. But ever done anything like that, Dave? You must have done something like that.
I did something like that last week, didn't I? I called me Matt Jones last week, didn't I? When we started up, second day in of our new radio show, and I said we are live at 8:00 with me, Matt Jones, and I can't believe I said it. It's years of working with him and hearing him say it. It's just that it must have had it subliminally in my mind to say it. So I called myself Matt Jones. I've had many times in press conferences, when you have to sort of stand up or put your hand up and say your name and where you're from. And I always find that it's really childish, really. But whenever you've been to maybe a mass job interview or something like that, or any sort of ice-breaking activity, where you have to put your hand up and say what you do, who you are, what you like, and all that stuff. Obviously, the same with press conferences, and a couple of times, I think once with Brendan Rodgers was one, and Kenny Dalglish was the other. Put my hand up, said Dave Downey, Radio City, and both of them. One of them, I think, was Rodgers asked me what my name was again because he wants to address me. But I think it's nice in a way because he wants to actually have a conversation with you. But Dalglish called me Steve twice. It didn't feel great because everyone else around you sort of laughing at you. Do you know what I mean? It could be quite a difficult environment at the best of times, those press rooms. But I was gutted about that. Just went red-faced and was like, forgot my question. I was like, I don't want to ask anymore. I'll just sit and see later on.
What about you, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, as Dave outlined there, there's always occasions when it's easy to make a mistake with somebody's name. I mean, when I used to work in education, parents' evenings used to be a minefield because inevitably you'd end up calling somebody by their name before they got divorced, and the look they'd give you to kill because you'd called them the wrong surname. I've been divorced. I think, how can you still think I'm with that person? So that was always a bit of a minefield, and you always made sure that you learn from that as well. So that was quite easily done, and I know because my surname always gets mispronounced by people, always gets extra letters added onto it, or becomes McFarland or McFarlane or McParland with a D. I have some sympathy for people getting names wrong. Well, you're talking there about Brendan Rodgers, Dave.
Yeah.
Just tell one little story. I used to work at Formby High, and one day I was waiting to go and see the head, and I was trying to get in. His PA was saying, "No, you can't go in and see him. He's with Brendan Rodgers, the Liverpool manager." Now, the head was a fanatical Blues, so I thought this was a wind. I was like, "No, you're joking. Brendan Rodgers is in the office. No, I'm going to go in and see him right now. I don't believe you." Just as I went and walked and opened the door, Brendan Rodgers came right out and I smacked right into him. And of all the things I could have said to Brendan Rodgers, and I just froze. I couldn't think of a word to say to him. I just smiled, "Hi, Brent." I went in the office feeling like a complete idiot. Fortunately, behind me, the school caretaker, who was a massive Blue, saw Brendan Rodgers and just tore into him about Liverpool, about how much better Everton was. So that was quite good to see as well.
Fair enough. I think we all like to think we'd say something harsh or strong in those circumstances, but we never actually do we?
No, I'm saying when you're unprepared for it, there's so many things I look back, I think I could have said this, I could have said that, but the opportunity went.
There we go. So we've all got a bit of sympathy for Carlo today in that regard. And I imagine he would have been straight on the phone to Luke Garbutt to apologise. It seems like that sort of fella, doesn't he? But obviously the reason he was asked about Luke Garbutt is because he is one of a number of players who have left the club because his contract has expired, and officially think the players will leave or won't be Everton players tomorrow. And that means some familiar faces won't be knocking around the squad anymore, Ben. And I suppose the one that's generated the most chat and one that's been most prominent in the first team in recent years has got to be Oumar Niasse. You've got to say, almost as recently as this year, he was coming off the bench for Everton in games against Newcastle. That memorable cameo appearance he made against Newcastle for the wrong reasons. Cuco Martina is another one as well. And I suppose while you sort of look back at those lads, and there's no real ill will towards any of them because they were just limited footballers who tried the best. I think it's sort of indicative of the recruitment strategy that was put in place by the club in those years when those lads were actually brought in.
Well, that's it. I mean, Prince Oumar is leaving the club after a very successful. We can't say that, can we? But I do always like to remind people that when they talk about particularly Oumar Niasse and Cuco Martin, because like you've said there, they weren't actually like players with bad attitudes. They didn't work hard. They were just pretty bad at football, is I think the line would have to go with. But you know what? I've seen a lot worse as well, and that's really worried. I've seen a lot worse than Oumar Niasse at Everton Football Club, namely one who's still on the books now in Sandro Ramirez. So, you know, it was always going to happen that they were going to get released, and we need to get players off the wage bill and names off the wage bill. I mean, Luke Garbutt, apparently, you mentioned there, he was on about 30 grand a week, something like that. I mean, that's obviously at the time we all thought he was like the new Leighton Baines in Cardiff, but obviously that didn't end up coming to fruition. So really just getting these players off the books is the right decision. But I don't particularly share the opinions of a lot of Everton where the sort of Kearson, Oumar Niasse, Martina for leave, because at the end of the day, they didn't do anything wrong. They worked hard and tried the best. They just weren't good enough, so that's why we've released them. So as far as I'm concerned, I would like, especially probably more likely now, I'd like to see him in the Premier League again, as long as he's not scoring against us.
And I think as well, David, certainly with Niasse, I think of that season where he gets into the team after, you know, it's effectively his comeback story, isn't it? After, you know, his locker's taken off him, he's exiled by Ronald Koeman, and then he comes back in the game against Bournemouth and rescues Everton and has a good little run in the team, then scores a few goals, helps the team out, helps them pull away from relegation trouble that season. I sort of think if he'd left at the end of that season, someone would come in and bid a decent amount for him and he'd gone, everyone would look back on him like really fondly and say, oh, do you know, this is a lad who came in, he fought back from effectively being on the brink of the squad, he won a load of people over, he scored a few important goals, and we got a bit of money for him at the end of it. But I think because of the fact he's been around a couple more years, because he's come on in recent games and, you know, understandably probably been, you know, looked a bit hopeless because he's not played much football, it's sort of soured it a little bit.
Yeah, because I'm with Ben and what he said. I think that if you look at it fairly and analyse it on without any real context, there's not really much you can blame him for, because he's always tried his best. Martina the same. When they've been in the team, when they've had to have been picked, unfortunately, it's not their fault that they're crap at footy. Do you know what I mean? To put it bluntly, I think that where the sort of anger comes towards them is when you start talking about wage constraints and financial fair play and stuff like that. That's when people start to get angry with players like that, because they're still knocking about on a substantial wage, and Everton are unable to do anything in the transfer market because of players like that. And that, again, is not their fault. They haven't contributed to that. They've done what was asked of them. And, you know, we can sit here and talk about how poor they are all day. But if you're Oumar Niasse, if you're Cuco Martin and you're offered the lucrative contract at a Premier League football club, you're not going to say, no, I'm not good enough, are you? Quite clearly, they believe in their own ability. Yep. There's absolutely nothing with that. So I don't have any issue or bone to pick with either of them. Even Sandro, who's there now, the only ones that really, I think, should be criticised at the club are the ones who you can blatantly see down tools in games, and ones that we've spent considerable amounts of money on. So in a funny sort of way, I have more of an issue with the likes of Gylfi Sigurdsson, Schneiderlin, who's just gone, who visibly have let the club down by not performing on the pitch, not trying their best. Paul will know this much more than me, as the elder statesman of the four of us tonight. Hope you don't mind me saying.
It's a compliment, Dave.
What I'm trying to say to you is the old adage with Everton, and we learned a lot about this in the Diaries of an Old Lady series that we did, was that as long as you try your best, yes, people will be unhappy that we lose games. Yes, they'll be happy if the side underperforms. But if everybody tries their best, there's no real qualm Evertonians can have with them. And that's always been the case. And with Cuco Martin and Oumar Niasse, I don't think we can say that about them. I don't think we can say they did not give their all.
Yeah, I'd agree there. And to me, a classic case in point of what you just said there was when we signed Neil Poynton in the 85-86 season, who ended up with the nickname Dizzer, as in disappointing. He always gave us all, even though he wasn't a good player. You'd never criticise because he put on the shirt, did the job. He wasn't brilliant, but he showed commitment to the cause and commitment to the club. And I think you've outlined there, and there's certain players I'd be I'd consider including Fabian Delph in that list as well,
Yeah.
as players who are taking the money and as a paying fan, you think, what am I getting, for paying to watch this guy? What's he adding to the team? And when you have players like Delph falling out with the fans publicly on in Instagram spats and things like that, I just don't think that's good. I think the players you mentioned before, like Niasse, and so to me, it opens up two big questions for Everton. One, the whole recruitment strategy. I mean, how informed was it? And secondly, the negotiation strategy. Why are Everton getting held over by agents who are getting as big a salary as possible for these players come to the club? And really, we should be playing hardball and saying, well, look, this is Everton Football Club. You need us more than what we need you, actually. So think about your demands, because we're not going to go along and pay for them.
It's staggering that deal even went ahead. And the last one when you think about is when you think back to it, at the time, Everton's manager was saying he was Russian Footballer of the Year the season before he came to us, and he wasn't. He sort of just made up an award, and it was on a website. And it's when you think back to it, Ben, and you look at the limitations he had as a footballer, you sort of, I know every now and then you sign a dud and you sign players that don't look up to it, but you look at someone like him and you think, how on earth did? Because I imagine at a Premier League football club as well, so many people need to rub a stamp, a sign, and you need to have so many different players. People look at them, scouts, the manager, obviously director of football now as well. For him to have slipped through so many layers and managed to get a move to a club like Everton, you wonder what's gone on there.
I mean, we've had how many examples in the past where players have not lived up to expectation, but yet you type the name in on YouTube and you see a highlight reel that makes him look like Messi or Ronaldo. But sorry, go on, Dave.
McGeady, yeah.
Aidan McGeady, exactly. But you know what? I'm gonna. Niasse is the exact opposition to that argument, because the second, obviously, like everyone, I've never heard of him. I've never, apparently been linked with Chelsea and all kinds, but never heard of him. He obviously wasn't Russian Footballer of the Year, and then I went to YouTube, as you do, to see what the lad's made of, and he looked pretty bad on YouTube. I saw, a compilation of goals that he scored. There were a few on there, but most of them were him that involved him sort of running falling the ball into the net, so to speak, like falling over his finish, and it like trickling over the line. And straight away, I've got to be honest, I did look at him and think, looks a little bit too so unorthodox. I mean, he looks powerful and quick, but doesn't look like he can hit a football properly. And we saw obviously those sort of fake injuries that were made up, that he had a dodgy wrist. Do you remember when he came in and he was walking around with like a white cast on his hand for like the first few months, sort of, trying to, if anything, give him an excuse not to play him, because Martinez must have seen him in training and gone, don't know what's gone here. Because what you've got to remember is, at the time, this wasn't a squad full of like very, very poor strikers that you could compare him to. You had Romelu Lukaku on the training ground there. So, like, if you compare, apples and apples, you must have looked at one of them and gone, one of them's out of date. You know what I mean? It baffled me to see it, because I try and be as positive. Like, I've been guilty of being positive in the past when we bought players and gone, like Alex Iwobi, for example, he's not quite worked out. When we signed him, I was like, no, I think that's actually a good sign. I'm quite happy about that, because I've seen bits of him and all that. But as soon as I saw Niasse, I sort of just thought, doesn't look the kind of striker we need. And lo and behold, it turns out that one half decent goal scoring season aside in 17-18, he'll go on with our best wishes, but certainly I don't think he's going to be missed, as you put it that way.
Yeah, that bundling the ball over the line, Dave, it's almost like Thierry Henry's trademark finish is opening his body up and curling it into the far corner. Oumar Niasse's trademark finish is falling over the ball, hitting him on the backside.
Literally what he does.
And it bumbling over the line, isn't it? And I still maintain now, if a ball gets cleared over the defender's head and the defender turns, and he's going back towards his own goal, there's not a fella in the world that'd rather have running after that ball than Oumar Niasse, because he is great in those situations. He could always hustle the defender and get round him and make something happen and fall over the ball or something like that. But, that bundled finish was, Niasse TM, wasn't it?
Well, it was, and I was just thinking then, when you put like, if those of you have a flutter, you put on like a first goal scorer bet at the weekend, and you can choose if it's like a header, like left foot, right foot. They should have opened their own marker for Niasse, like kneecap, shin,
back of his shoulder when he headed it against Palace. From a Cuco Martin, a left-footed cross, by the way.
Yeah.
The best thing about that was, it looked like, before you even saw a replay, it looked like the best finish you've ever seen.
Sent the keeper the wrong way.
And then when you see the replay, you're like, oh, he's meant to put it in the other corner, which undoubtedly would have either been saved or gone wide. Yeah, I mean, the thing that gets me, and there's probably a story in this, if you were to dig deep enough, Matt, was you look at the disparity between that signing and what happened in Martinez's first season when we got Lukaku on loan, James McCarthy, Gerard Deulofeu and Gareth Barry. I mean, you look at that as a foursome to sign when you come into a brand new club. Every single one of them was superb in that first season. How on earth do you go from that with your recruitment team to get Oumar Niasse from the Russian league? It's the most Everton thing ever, isn't it? But I don't understand the disparity and what's. I mean, like Paul, going back to what Paul said, I think it's a great point. You only look at that and think agents, don't you? You think we've gone into a market there, European market, thinking, well, we need a striker that won't cost an arm and a leg, but can finish with an arm and a leg. And,
or a knee, or a neck, or a shoulder.
Yeah. Scour the market for somebody who's quite clearly slipped under the radar. The only problem was he slipped under the radar because he was never meant to be on a radar, or it was a different radar altogether. And so I think Paul's probably right in terms of agent fees and, us sort of trying to pander to them and saying, look, we need a striker here. Who have you got for us? Somebody's quite clearly sitting there with an inflated wallet on the back of Oumar Niasse coming to Everton when he probably never should have.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough.
I think it's fair enough.
Go on, Paul.
I mean, all I would say in Niasse's defence is the best goal he ever scored as an Everton player was when he's on loan at Hull against Liverpool, when he almost took the ball from the halfway line, stumbled over it about 4 times, but eventually scored the goal. And to me, my abiding memory of him is no matter how poor he was for Everton, I'm always delighted he scored that second goal to beat Liverpool 2-0 at Hull.
Yeah.
Do you know what in that season Ben mentioned as well? He did score some big goals in that season.
Got 8 goals in 14 starts,
Yeah.
The Bournemouth game in particular was it was just a really hilarious, mad occasion when he came off the bench and scored twice and won us the game that day.
That was a real sliding doors moment, because
Yeah.
Koeman could have gone had we lost that game.
Yeah.
But also Dave as well. He scored the first goal in that comeback win over Watford.
Yeah,
and it was him falling over the ball on its way into the line, but he basically chases down a lost cause. The keeper misses it, and he just falls over, and it goes in off him. But again, that was sort of the goal that night, which Everton were dead and buried at 2-0, and he got them back into the game at least, and gave us a bit of a foothold to push on. So as much as we sit here and we'll slate his footballing ability, at times in that season when Everton were on the brink, he did pull out some. Not moments of quality or great finishes, but he was just the right fella in the right place at the right time.
Do you remember his last goal? I think it's probably his last ever goal for Everton, actually, apart from a cut one. It was Allardyce's last game against West Ham. I think we got beat like 3-1. But the ball goes into the box. He knocks the ball over his own head, turns on the sixpence, and then volleys it in. And you're like, it's a good quality finish, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He actually had a little bit of something in him. He was useless 99% of the other side.
Yeah, the abiding goal for me, the thing that I remember the most for was when he scored that goal against. We got beat 5-2.
Yeah,
against Arsenal.
Yeah, we got beat that day, and he ends up he closes down. Who's in goal at the time? Was it Chesney?
Check.
Yeah, he closes him down and bundles it in, and then he's just a classic striker, isn't he? Who gets that consolation goal, grabs the ball, and runs back to the halfway line, and even
ironic, yeah.
Even looked like he was going to fall over when he was doing that as well.
Well, it's ironic he scored the final goal of Koeman's reign before he got sacked. How ironic is that he didn't give him a lock and then he scores the final goal. He actually got sacked after that Arsenal game.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
So he scored. He had the last laugh there in the ass, didn't he? It's my locker.
As you said, Ben, as well, he scored the last goal of Allardyce's reign as well.
Yeah, it's a bit of a theme, yeah. I hope he went up to Koeman on the last days. He was like getting stuff and he goes, can I have your locker then if you're going? There's a free locker now, mate. I'll have that one.
Great bit of swag, right? Yeah. Oumar's the manager now.
Prince Oumar.
Yeah.
What are the flop would you spend half an hour of a podcast talking about? He's done himself proud, that lad.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We spoke about him on 11s recently, and there's just so many funny moments. Like I remember he was unveiled and he just sprinted onto the pitch and ran around the centre circle as fast as he could in his jeans and his Everton top, just waving at everybody. It's almost like he was warming up to come on for the second half. But
Was his day down at Bournemouth in the cup? Is that
Yeah.
right?
He come on sub in the FA Cup, yeah.
Because someone
But
said to me after that game, they were down there, and said like you could visibly see the other substitutes warming up at half time, sort of like looking at each other saying, "What's he doing here?" Because he couldn't like trap the ball, he couldn't control it properly, and he never. I mean, it wasn't a case of being massively disappointed, was it? Because he never reached, never reached any sort of standard.
Yeah,
having Lukaku softened the blow, didn't he?
Yeah,
because we didn't need to rely on him, though, did we?
Yeah.
He was a bonus, wasn't he?
yeah.
And
even
to be fair to Niasse, his Everton career lasted a bit longer than Traore's, didn't it?
yeah, that's fair.
I mean,
enough,
that was one game, one injury, wasn't it? Then like a final appearance away at Hull as a sub.
Yeah, what a goal he
It
scored.
was,
there.
yeah.
My
Yeah,
word.
was it
Back
against
heel.
Swansea in the cup? Was it?
Yeah,
In the FA
yeah.
Cup, it was, yeah.
But even the Ass's last kick of a football for Everton was that Newcastle game when he had a 1-on-1 and he just knocked it straight into the defender. And you know we should have gone 3-0 up in that game that day.
Yeah.
He tried to play football. That was the problem. He should have just fell over into the ball. I bet he'd have got it. He's trying to think. He's overthinking it too much. The defenders don't know. Sorry, the defenders don't know what he's going to do next because he doesn't know what he's going to do next.
Yeah.
And of course, when he came on against West Ham, and we were 2-0 up as well.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
And West Ham had 10 men for that game, didn't they?
No, we had 10 men, didn't we? We had 10 men, and he brought.
Yeah.
That's
Martinez
right.
brought Adam Lennon off.
Yeah.
He was playing really well, and we were 2-0 up, and he put Niasse on, and just
Got
for
beat
some
3-2.
reason, we emptied midfield and put two strikers on when we were trying to defend.
Put two strikers on, yeah.
That was the beginning of the end for Martinez, that game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think it was.
Because I liked Martinez. I liked him when he was at Everton, but even I turned around and thought, that's the end of it. He's not going to be here for much longer after that because that was toxic.
Yeah.
We had Lukaku had a penalty, didn't he, as well, to put us 3-0 up and missed it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just like he did in the
I forgot
semi-final.
about that.
Yeah.
Wait.
No game in that season was worse.
The Stoke game.
Yeah, when Shaqiri scores that chip.
I think the worst one of that season for me was
4-3, the Boxing Day one. Yeah.
Yeah.
The worst ones for me were West Ham and Bournemouth away, 3-3.
Yeah, that's disgrace, wasn't it? When
3-3 was shocking.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then the same thing happened again at Chelsea. Like 50
well,
days later.
that wasn't all our fault, the Chelsea one, was it? Because it was offside and overtime, and it was handball or something like that.
But Ben, that just going off on a tangent there, that was Roberto Martinez in a nutshell, that, because we do so many good things in games. We'd attack
excite you.
Yeah, we'd attack these teams, these big teams, more than any Everton side that I've ever seen. We'd actually look like we're going to get a result, and then it'd just be a capitulation, something ingrained in them that just meant that we're going to cock this up.
It was just full of...
Sorry, Dave. Sorry, Ben. As you said before, Dave, I mean, you mentioned the recruitment in Martinez's first season. The recruitment was absolutely spot on in his first season, wasn't it? And it does beg the question, did he go wrong, or was the advice he was being given wrong, or were people not listening to the players that he wanted to buy? I'm not quite sure. Sorry, Ben.
No, I think that's a good point as well. I think it's very difficult. I mean, it's clear now, the transfer strategy we've got, because Marcel Brands is 90% in charge of the players. You'd imagine it's just sort of a thumbs up or thumbs down from Ancelotti when all the negotiating's getting started. But back then, it is really weird to think, because about a month after Niasse signed, isn't that when Moshiri got announced? So you wonder then what kind of influence.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, I thought back to that a few months later, and I think they knew that Moshiri was coming in. That's why they wanted to sanction, because we needed a striker, but we weren't desperate for a striker. So to go out and buy one for that kind of money at the time, to me, thought there's money coming in here for some reason. They're just like kids in a sweet shop, and it's like they've seen Chelsea link with him, so we'll go and grab him and pretend like we've robbed them off Chelsea. That's what it seemed like to me.
Because they sold Naismith that January, didn't they, as well? Yeah.
I was going to say, Matt, here's a question for you. So, knowing what we know from Moshiri's time at the club and the absolute waste of money we've had, which I think, nobody can deny, we've wasted a hell of a lot of money under Moshiri. Would you then, knowing what you know about the likes of Oumar Niasse, Ansel and Alcaraz, would you take a chance now and swap what we've done and give all that to Roberto Martinez after that first season?
So you want him with money after the first season?
I want with money after that 2016 semi-final against United.
So if he
No.
hadn't got sacked, basically, if he hadn't got sacked,
Yeah.
No, absolutely not.
we'd have got Yarmolenko.
that team, just think
You'd
back
rather,
on.
hang on, you'd rather have what we have now.
Yeah, I'd have took a chance on Martinez personally.
I think we probably would have gone down.
Really? We're spending all that money?
Yeah, because Lukaku would have gone in the
I was
summer.
turned into like
I think the only reason Rom stayed that summer is because Koeman came in, and he was attracted by Koeman being, because they were big pals in that first season, weren't they? They always celebrated together. They always talked about each other quite a lot. But Martinez, it felt as though the more influence he had on that side, the worse we were. And I've never seen an Everton team in my life as unfit as that one at the end of that season. Do you remember Ross Barkley? He was absolutely enormous. He was huge. He couldn't run. The players were out of shape. They were just utterly horrendous. And I think that those few months were the worst thing I've ever seen an Everton team play. That night at Sunderland when we lost 3-0, the 4-0 derby where, John Stones goes off with the shits and we ended up having like 40 shots a goal against us or something mad like that. That was a horrendous time to watch Everton. So with that in mind, I probably wouldn't have kept him on. I mean, I don't know what Paul and Ben think on that, and yourself, obviously, Dave.
It's funny you mentioned the Derby game there because that 4-0 one. I remember Brendan Rodgers being on Sky Sports on the Monday night special of the season afterwards, and he was talking about the tactics he chose to play against Everton that night because you knew Martinez, like the fullbacks, to push forward, leaving loads of space behind them. And he told Suarez and might have been Sturridge not to track back. And they will always track back. No, don't track back because there's so much space behind them. They'll lose the ball, and when it comes back into the opposition half, you will get it and you will have a free run on goal. And as you were talking through each goal, you can see how that tactic could work. I thought, Rodgers has done his homework here, and then think, well, hang on, if Rodgers has sussed this out, every manager in the Premier League is watching this thinking, right, this is how you beat Everton. And going back to the final days of Martinez, as you said, the first season was fabulous and we'd all love to have a season like that again. But by the end, the home form was just abysmal. Every time John Stones had the ball on his own penalty, your heart was in your mouth, wondering who was going to give it to, who was going to give it away to. And I think it's about the players. The players lost faith in Martinez, and that kind of explained them being out of condition, not making the efforts. I think, it's deal with that. It's just if you've lost the dressing room, then the club's not going to go anywhere in particular. And, I was just relieved that Martinez didn't win the World Cup with Belgium in 2018 because that really would have been something that we just so Everton, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we just very quickly, Dave, we had a few comments on Twitter. So on the Ash, Ian Clark said he was a kitten with a ping pong ball. Carl Roper is on Prospect and Martinez. No, 3 exclamation marks. Agree with Matt, we'd have gone down. The more he coached them, the worse we got. I'm only amazed that game against Liverpool didn't end up 8-0.
Yeah.
That did amaze me. That was, we got out of jail there because Sturridge missed the penalty as well, didn't he?
He did.
5-0 on the hour, yeah. And we had another comment from videos and stuff saying Koeman went to watch Sandro 4 or 5 times and signed him. So,
we all thought he was going to be like the next Fernando Torres, though, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. Yeah. We did.
I mean,
that was the most disappointing transfer I've seen. Sorry.
He scored one goal, Sandro, didn't he, against Atlanta in the Europa League, which is a really, really good goal. He also scored his second goal. Well, you wouldn't be counted in the pre-season friendly against Seville when he also looked very good.
Yeah. In the goal kit as well, he looked even better, didn't he, in that kit?
That kit was amazing.
They were glory days having that pre-season when we thought everyone was going to be great. And
thought we were taking the world on.
Yeah, we had a wonderful kit, a boss manager. No one was asked that Rom had gone. It was all going to be fine. So yeah, never mind.
No.
Say it again, Dave.
Battered and Razumbarok 1-0 at Goodison.
And they were a tough team, to be fair.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
From halfway line.
Oh God, yeah, of course, yeah. Slide tackling from the halfway line, yeah. They're great days there. Let's have a chat about Wednesday then. Carlo Ancelotti said at his press conference today that Yerry Mina is available, albeit there's no guarantee he's going to play, of course, at the moment, with Mike Keane doing really well. Theo Walcott and Djibril Sidibe are in contention. But Fabian Delph is out. And Fabian Delph's been, just probably get to about the game, Dave. Fabian Delph's been perusing Instagram again, you could say, and rather than a few blues, just, can't seem to keep away, can he, from it?
No, seems to be a well-trodden path to them, doesn't it? You know, and you think about it is these things normally 99% of the time you take with a pinch of salt for various reasons. Maybe the guy's, you know, it's a friend of his or whatever. Quite clearly,
Yeah. For anyone who's not seen it, can you just explain what's actually happened?
Yeah, so essentially, there's an Instagram picture of a guy wearing the 19/20 champions top for Liverpool winning the league. He's got the top on back to front. And Fabian Delph, I'm not sure what the comment was. What was it? Something like, I'm buzzing for you or something like that.
Yeah.
Along those lines. That's not verbatim. And a couple of times he conversed with this guy saying how great it is and things like that. Obviously a massive no-no to every Evertonian, really. Probably borderline unprofessional for many people. A lot of people are outraged by it. And the reason what I say is 99% of the time you can take that with a pinch of salt because, you know, there's things lost in translation, could be a close friend, whatever. There'll be some sort of context, which I'm sure he'd probably try and explain if he could. The issue I've got with him is more how that exacerbates how poor he's been in an Everton shirt so far. I think he's been abysmal. I think he hasn't shown any leadership qualities. The real one that really that got me was the 3-2 away at Watford, which we eventually won. Thankfully, we got late goal and he gets sent off in that game. And at the time, I thought I was staggered that firstly, not many people agreed with me, saying that was the most unprofessional, pointless, pathetic tackle in the world that he could make when we're trying to see the game out. He had the Watford player going nowhere, decides to stick his foot in, second book ball offence and walks. And it looks like it maybe cost Everton the game on another occasion. That to me is not a man who's one of the leadership contenders in the Manchester City dressing room that won a couple of league titles. that to me is irresponsible professional who looks like he's come to the football clubs for his last payday. And that is what I feared when we got him. I wasn't overly enamoured when we announced the signing of him. I thought he'll be a decent squad player, possibly somebody who comes in if we've got, you know, a few games over a small amount of time and stuff like that, and really lead by example. In a midfield that, let's face it, at the start of the season we were quite excited about with the arrival of Gbamin. We thought it'd probably maybe be third choice, possibly competing with Tom Davies or Schneiderlin for those midfield roles under Marco Silva. Never materialised, and to me it just looked like it just looks like he's here for one final payday, and quite sad really, because all you ever hear from other clubs he's been at is how good he is, how much of a leader he is, which does my nutting. Anytime we sign these hand-me-downs from other clubs who are around the age of 30, done everything they need to do in their career, go back to the old adage you always come out with, Matt. There's a reason they come to Everton. The reason being Fabian Delph looks to me like one final paycheck before he calls it a day, or perhaps goes to the MLS or China.
I think when we signed him initially, Paul, you know, everyone thought, is this going to be the new Gareth Barry? Because he's a midfielder, he's left-sided, he's experienced, he's been to Villa, he's been to Man City. You know, there's loads of similarities there between his career and Gareth Barry's, but certainly not been that, has he?
Well, I think comparing him with Gareth Barry is a good case to quote, because Gareth Barry to me was the ultimate professional, someone who would never let the side down, who despite his lack of pace, you could always rely that he was going to contribute, he's going to make a determined effort for the team, and didn't let himself down off the pitch particularly either, apart from maybe Wallinson when he joined West Brom after he left us in Spain one time. But I agree with what Dave's saying there, and I think Ben would agree as well that, you know, Fabian Delph, to me, when we bought him, I was disappointed because it meant, I think we were doing a Blue Room show that night, Matt, when news came in about his signature, and straight away we all thought that means Garner Gate going, and I don't think we've actually recovered from selling Garner Gate this season. That's just left a gaping hole in the midfield. It's not being filled. I think as well, he was 28 when we signed him, and at the time, we were getting told the philosophy was to bring in young footballers we could improve rather than buying other clubs, as Dave mentioned quoted before, other clubs' rejects, because to me, he wasn't the first team at Man City. And to me, the argument always has to be, why would Everton buy a player who can't get a first team place with another club? The argument has to be, you know, we want to buy players who are regulars for their team. And I think he has just come for the last payday. I've been hugely underwhelmed with Fabian Delph. I didn't particularly like him before we bought him anyway. And I just, you know, he's kind of symptomatic of what's been the issue with Everton's recruitment for the last 3 or 4 seasons.
Yeah, we've had a comment on this from Carl in the YouTube box. I'll sort of put it to you, Ben. Carl said it's more the player than the action. If Richarlison does that, obviously referring to the Instagram quote, no one is bothered. Delph has done nothing to win the fans over, hence the reaction. I'd move him on. I think that's fair enough, isn't it? To be honest, I think when you've not been on the pitch and when you've been on the pitch and not played particularly well, you need to be pretty squeaky clean off it and do everything well off it in order to earn the favour of the fans, haven't you?
Well, anything like that's always going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back. You know what I mean? For me, I don't mind saying, he's acted for me like a petulant child throughout the entire season. For a player who's shown so little actual ability and so little fitness as well, might I add, he's been a liability, like Dave said, when he's been on the pitch. Like that Watford, I completely agree with Dave, that Watford sending off, that was just, it was unacceptable, really, from a player of his years. He acts like, you know, people have been vocal, especially in sort of the wider media, vocal of Moise Keane's kind of perceived petulant behaviour, you know, but that's a young lad coming to a new country. It's Fabian Delph, an England international. You know, not being funny, I remember the time when Mason Holgate was on the pitch when we were born, with Mason Holgate told him he should have been marking his play, and turns around to Mason Holgate says, show some respect. Well, I'll tell you right now, Mason Holgate's twice the football and twice the leader, might I add, the Fabian Delph's ever going to be. And you know what? I completely agree there with Paul as well, because in no way did that fit any of the club's transfer philosophies. That still feels to me, Del, as though that could be a Steve Walsh in that. You know, because it's a player who isn't good enough, who's over the hill on massive wages and a relatively long-term contract in 3-year deal. So while Marcel Brand has been trying his best to sort of shift the deadwood, and we're still seeing that now, and we will be doing next summer when the likes of Sandro's contract expire. But we're just not, you know, that went against the entire grain of what we were trying to do. And I wasn't very enthused when we signed him, but I thought, give him a chance. He might turn out to be, like you say, a Gareth Barry type figure. But it's just gone completely the opposite way. And to be honest, it's actually sad that currently, if he was fully fit, he probably would be our first choice ahead of Sigurdsson and Davis while Gbamin's out injured. So that worries me a lot. But I'll tell you what, if anyone from the MLS came calling, and I've written pieces in the past about this very thing, I think he should be basically pushed straight on a plane to America. A bit similar, more so than Rooney was. You know, when Rooney went, you could tell the club were very keen to get rid of him because of the wages. You know, and it was almost if Rooney was like, he didn't get a say in it, he was kind of pushed onto a plane going, listen, you're going to have to leave because we need to get you off the wage bill. Say, if we could get any kind of fee for Fabian Delph, I'd be all over. Because you know what? I'd have kept Schneiderlin ahead of him. I think Schneiderlin was better.
Yeah, I think the other thing about it to me, the comparison with Gareth Barry was always very lazy, in my opinion, because you only have to look at their injury records. Gareth Barry is the record holder for most Premier League. Fabian Delph, I remember looking at the time when people were saying this, had only made over 30 league appearances. I think it's something like 4 of his previous sort of 12 seasons, I think, counting his younger days at Leeds. You know, I think as fans, I'm not speaking for everybody here because I wouldn't dare do that, but I think we are so easily led by that whole, he's a leader. Well, I could be a great leader. I can't move and I can't kick a football. And neither can Fabian Delph at the moment, by the way. That's the problem I have when people say that winning mentality thing. If you've got a winning mentality, why are Manchester City letting him go? Why are Manchester United letting go of players like Darren Gibson, who we've signed in the past? And there's a huge catalogue. You could write easily probably 22 players. You could write 2 11s of players surplus to requirements at other football clubs who have won things. That to me is more of a risk and worse than signing an unknown player, even the likes of Oumar Niasse. I'd rather go and take a punt on somebody like that than go and get a 30-odd-year-old journeyman who's won a few league titles and maybe a couple of cups. Because where's their ambition then after they've finished that in their career? Gareth Barry's one of the very rare ones who've stuck out as somebody who's come from a team that's been successful to a side like ours and actually kept his standard up. And that's the immense professional he is. I wish we had him 5 years earlier, because we'd probably be having much better conversations about Everton's recent history if we had something like that. Just a guy similar. You know, he's over 30 now. There's still rumours about him coming back with PSG, maybe looking to offload him. The comparisons just not existing for me, because nobody comes to a club like ours. It's a stark reality. It's a harsh reality for people. People don't come to Everton when they've been at previously successful clubs. We need to sign players. And the philosophy now, Ben, you're absolutely right, is correct. That's why this was such a strange one, because it went totally against it.
Surprised Marcel Brands signed this one because it just went against everything.
It's max desperation, doesn't it? I think it's a desperate sign. And going back, completely agree with what Paul said, that in a day, push the panic button, because they either had a plan to get somebody else in before he departed, that didn't happen, or that they banked on him maybe staying at the football club. And that, to me, when we come across these instances again, maybe even this summer, the proof will be in the pudding if they've learned these lessons by the type of player they go and try to attract, because these experienced pros, in inverted commas, are not coming to Everton for professional reasons, in my opinion. That's a blanket statement, but except for Gareth Barry, I can't think of any others.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. But yeah, he's not going to be involved on Wednesday night. Means that they're going to have. I was going to have be light on options in midfield again. I'll come to you first on this one, Paul. In regards to the team news and what Carlos said today, do you foresee any real changes for Everton from the game at Norwich? I think that the obvious one looks like it's going to be Gylfi Sigurdsson probably coming in for Tom Davies, but it's difficult to maybe see any other changes to the side apart from that.
No, I'd go along with that. I think, Matt, yeah, I mean certainly the second half performance at Norwich was much improved on the first half performance, and so I'd be inclined to start off with the team that finished the Norwich game. Yeah, I mean, defensively, I think it's only the third time this season we've gone 2 consecutive games without conceding the goal. So that I think that needs to be developed. I think Michael Keane, who I've been a big critic of, has actually looked better in the 2 games. And to me, it kind of raises an interesting point that are some players better when they don't play in front of a crowd? I'm looking at Michael Keane, think he's a bag of nerves playing at Goodison with everyone screaming at him. Playing in front of an empty stadium, he seems much more composed, much more relaxed. I thought Tom Davies was the same in the Derby match as well. He also didn't seem to be under pressure because the crowd wasn't there. So whether Ancelotti's picked up on that, the certain players seem more relaxed around fans being there, I'm not quite sure. But at the moment, I can't see any overwhelming case for changing the team. And I think, hope these words don't come back to haunt me, I think we're playing Leicester at a good time, because I think they've hit quite a sticky patch at the moment. I don't know if James Maddison's still injured or not.
He's not fit. He's not available now.
So that's a plus for us as well. So to me, this seems an ideal opportunity to get another 3 points, keep another clean sheet, and we've still got the flicker of a chance of qualifying for Europe. And I'm always heartened when Carlos says his post-match interviews, we're going for Europe, we're still in contention. When you think like Burnley are now in contention for Europe, Southampton in contention for Europe, then why aren't we?
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. I mean, when Paul said then that feels like it's a good time to play Leicester, Dave and Ben sort of sat up and squirmed in the seats a little bit. Obviously, they're not playing well. Jamie Vardy's on 99 Premier League goals in that regard. I know Dave feels like this is potentially a banana skin game for Everton, which is a mad thing to say actually about a team that's third in the Premier League, but they are playing that badly at the moment. But how do you feel about it, Ben? How do you see it
going? I think we might try and keep it tight. A bit similar like we did in the Liverpool game. I actually think you will see a couple of changes. I think it's probably time for Anthony Gordon to go back in for Bernard for me. Bernard had his opportunity against Norwich and he didn't take it for me. He's looked a little bit, sluggish since the restart. He's not quite enthused me, whereas I think Alex Iwobi on the other flank has actually taken the ball by the horns and actually used it as a good opportunity. So he's got to start for me. I'll put probably Anthony Gordon back on the left-hand side. That's assuming he doesn't want to give Moise Keane a run out. He seems a bit reluctant to give Moise Keane much game time and move Richarlison. I think he likes to keep Richarlison exactly where he is up front. Other than that, yeah, Michael Keane, like Paul said, then I've not been a big fan of him. I've been a big fan of him in the past, but this season I've been very critical of him just because of compared to how good he was last season. But he does seem. I think he just needs someone next to him with pace. I think that's what it is. I think because he's got Holgate, he knows he's got pace in behind. He doesn't seem to panic as much. I think when he's next to Yerry Mina, it's like having 2 HGV trucks like at the back. You know what I mean? They turn like buses, and that's when you start panicking. But I think the Leicester game, it is a banana skin. I'm definitely not going to say anything like we're catching them at a good time, because as everyone knows, playing Everton, it's always going to be a good time playing Everton. You know what I mean? I think listen, without crowd, if we had the crowd and it was home game, I'd be disappointed if we didn't win, or at least get something out the game. But 11 men v 11 men, regardless of their injuries, at the end of the day, the fact that they've got a better team than us. They've got a better starting 11 than us. I don't think they've got a better manager than us, but they've probably got a better starting 11 than us, and they've got Jamie Vardy, who always seems to score against us. And am I right in thinking the last 3 times in all competitions we played them, they've beaten us, all 3, including the cup game on pens, because they beat us at home last season under Martinez. They beat us away in the league this season, and then they beat us on penalties in the cup. So we've not got a great record. And Jamie Vardy always seems to turn up when he comes to Goodison Park. So, yeah, I mean, it's one of them. I'd be disappointed to sit here and say I'd take a draw, because I want to win, especially a home game. But unfortunately, like we've discussed in the past, it doesn't really feel like a home game at the moment. So I can see us trying to keep it tight, similar that we did against Liverpool. But I do think maybe that 10 minutes, 15 minute spell at the end of the Liverpool game might come 10, 15 minutes earlier in this game, so I might be a bit braver. But I think Leicester will be happy to let us keep it tight, and then when we eventually do come out of our sort of go out and try and create chance, that's when I think they'll just be happy just picking us off. So tentatively, a little bit anxious about the game because of the pace they have in behind, especially against the likes of Michael Keane. But listen, we've got Leicester and Tottenham in the next 2 games. They're 2 games that I think we're going to find very difficult to get points from. But if we are serious about Europe, like Paul said there, and it's great to hear about it, we need to win both them games. I'm not going to believe that we've got a chance of Europe unless we do what is unfortunately the unthinkable and get 6 points from the next 6 games.
Yeah. Dave, I know you're a big fan of James Maddison. Him not playing for Leicester is obviously a boost for us, but I think the one which is sort of gone under the radar a bit when it comes to them is Ricardo not being involved as well, because he's been, probably after Alexander-Arnold, the best right back in the league for the last couple of years. So he's going to be a big miss. But me and you were speaking this morning. You were sort of saying that you think it's going to be tough for us. And I suppose it's just we're getting to that point in the season now, are we? Where Everton are mid-table, not really got anything to play for. The derby's out the way. They've won away from home. They've got to that 40 points. Whereas Leicester all of a sudden have got a lot to play for, haven't they? With those teams coming up behind them, and just wonder if that sheer will of wanting to win a football match and need to win a football match might come into it a little bit on Wednesday.
Well, they need to response as well, Matt. I think I mentioned on our radio show this morning, they definitely need to show something, because the 3 games that I've seen them play since the restart, they've had very, very little. They've looked very flat, and they haven't got chances. And I think Carlo Ancelotti will have studied that, and they'll have looked at the opposition they've played and how they've stopped, in particular, Vardy on the break. Yeah, great news for us that Maddison's not there. Ricardo even better as well in the wide areas. To me, there's a midfield battle here that's crucial, and that's where Leicester have been undone, I think, in their first few games back, because they haven't had the penetration of Maddison. Even Rodgers himself played them out wide on one occasion as well, which just did not work at all. In the middle, they're a strong force. I remember talking about this earlier this season. They have, I think, a glut of players who are all 23 years old, who are just much as you throw them in. Tielemans and Ndidi.
You've got Chowdhury and Dennis Pratt as well.
Yeah, quality midfielders in depth. That's why Leicester find themselves third. You pit that against what we've had, and obviously it's been an underlying theme, and then it's been a pretty obvious theme for us this season. It's been the midfield battles. But I was mildly impressed with Sigurdsson when he come on against Norwich. I thought he was okay. I thought his touches were fine. He looked like he was up for a battle and wanted to put himself about a little bit. Hopefully this lockdown period has given him the sort of wake-up call he needs to be regarded as a £45 million player, because he's not worth half that, in my opinion. In fact, I think we'd be lucky to get anywhere near half that if we were to try and sell him. I think he will come in, because Davis was really poor against Norwich. I don't think Carlo Ancelotti's the type of manager who that will go unnoticed with either. I think put Sigurdsson in there next to Gomez. And then, I mean, the one person we haven't spoke about all show really is Calvert-Lewin. And I had some observations of his against Norwich, which I thought I really, really liked. One, he looks fit as a fiddle. I mean, he looks like a proper athlete now. He's beefed out properly. He's a big, strong boy, and he's lightning quick as well. He's developing into everything we hoped he would be from a physical standpoint. Well, he's the complete opposite to that player we saw stuck on the channels under the likes of Koeman and Allardyce. He's a genuine striker now. He's a genuine number 9. And if you noticed, I'm not sure if you did, every single time he picked up the ball in a deep line area, he'd turn and he'd shoot. He looks to shoot on sight now. And
his passing's been really good as well.
Yeah.
Since he came back.
He's brimming with confidence. He knows now. He cuts a figure that knows he's the main man in this side from a goal scorer standpoint. I think what will be bothering him is how long he's gone without a goal. Not so much in time, but actual physical, real life time.
He's a goal, doesn't he?
Is it March? Is it April time when he scored?
Yeah, March, yeah.
United, wasn't it?
Even that was just the one that hit him, which De Gea kicked against him, wasn't it? So.
Even that was Numanias goal, wasn't it?
He stayed on his feet, though. He didn't fall over, did he? So it couldn't be Nias.
But he will. I'll go on the limb and say this now. He's going to get a bag full for us, Calvert-Lewin, because it looks like he's just got that bit between his teeth, which is he's had the adversity. He's come through so much of the football club. That's a bit of a yarn, isn't it? Going through what he's been through at the club to come out the other side. But now, to me, he looks like the finished product, and I can see him getting on the team sheet tomorrow night.
On the team sheet, I think he's definitely starting. Yeah,
I hope so. Yeah.
You're on the bench today, Dom. We're gonna give Umar a last hurrah before we
gonna look really like sort of like X-Files style if we look at the team sheet and he's just missing off it tomorrow and everyone's like going Dave down.
Umar's giving us a game for free.
He's ran on with Calvert-Lewin's shirt number on his locker.
Guard of honour for Umar when he comes out. Yeah. Predictions, Paul.
Well, I hate to curse Everton's results, because the way Dave's just talked up Calvert-Lewin there, which I totally agree with, and I think I think he's due a goal tomorrow night. I'm confident he'll get a goal tomorrow night, whether it's an Ajax type goal or a real goal. I don't really care. But I think we're due a victory against Leicester. We've had some bad luck against them in the League Cup. In the league this season, they scored in the last minute against us, didn't they?
Oh, yeah.
When we dominated the game. When we played last year, it was New Year's Day. Goodison in the most territory type atmosphere I've ever known at Goodison Park. We beat us 1-0 that day as well. So I think we're due a win against Leicester. And Maddison not playing is a big plus for us. So, okay, I've got on the limb here. 2-0 Everton.
Ben, what do you reckon?
Do you want me heart or me head?
Heart. No one cares about rational thought on here. Just give us what your heart's saying.
I think it'd be 1-1 then. But, listen, I'm sorry, but all I keep seeing in my head is a 1-0 Jamie Vardy. That's all I keep seeing. Like a jammy, horrible goal in like 75 minutes, something after we finally come out of our own half and we just did it. But I don't think there's many goals in any of Everton's games going forward. Because you see the way the season's restarted for us, we seem to be very careful about things like injuries. We don't seem to be making many subs to freshen the team up because we haven't got the personnel. So I just think every game's going to be quite tight, and I think they need the result more than we do, like you said before. So I think they might just have the edge in this game.
Dave?
I've gone for a highly competitive 2-2. I think we'll see. I think we'll see a different game. I think we'll see the type of game we want with some sides actually trying to score goals and play some attack. Nice. It'd be really nice. Do you know what? I want to see us a little bit more penetrative from that midfield area. I want to see
Martinez back for one game.
Yeah,
like 4-4 then. It'd be 4-4.
He'd definitely take both teams to score and a score draw, wouldn't he?
He'd definitely have Calvert-Lewin on the bench and the ass up front as well.
Yeah, with passed on. I think 2-2. I think we'll see some goals, and I think the Michael Keane. I think he has an issue with Vardy. In the past, we've seen that. I think
scored a lot against us.
Well, that dreadful 1-0 that Paul's talking about on New Year's Day, it was a Michael Keane error. I think I remember.
On the halfway line, wasn't it? Gave the ball away.
Yeah, and Vardy's sheer in pace. So it's important Carlo gets the defensive line right in terms of how high up our starting position is. That'll be crucial to sort of numbing his effect on the game. But other than that, I can see us causing them real problems. And selection-wise, I'm with you, Matt. I think he might just throw Sigurdsson in instead of Davis, and then sort of keep it as it is. Bernard, I know we haven't probably got enough time to talk about him, but that's a lingering issue for me. That is going to be
I agree.
a sticking point going forwards, given his wages.
I'd let him go. I'd let him go if somebody come in with a decent offer. That I know you're in a rush, but that's what I'd say.
But that's sort of my point. What I'm getting at, Ben, is that his sell-on value is going to be tainted for us by the fact that people are not going to be willing to pay that sort of wage.
Oh yeah.
Sure, we'll have a chat about that in the future. I reckon we're going to win 1-0. I think it'll be similar to the derby, like Ben
It's not
said.
just me.
Yeah, I think it'll be similar to the derby, like Ben said. But I think we'll be strong in the last 15.
I did say after 7
minutes.
minutes, I did say 10 minutes into the derby there'd be riots or angles, and I wasn't quite right.
I reckon they'll be a bit weary after the workload they've had the last few weeks, and I think we'll come on strong later on and win it. So fingers crossed anyway. Thanks very much to everyone who's listened to this. Thanks very much to everyone who's watched on YouTube and interact. I really enjoyed that. Cheers for the people getting involved there. Cheers to Ben, Paul and Dave. We'll be back post-match tomorrow with Mark Mosey, myself and Nick Preble might be joining us as well after his hiatus from the show where, he only became a father, but we'll can't really excuse him from that. But might have him back on. What was that, mate?
The weatherman returns.
The weatherman returns, yeah. So we'll speak to you tomorrow after the game as well. Hopefully reflecting on Everton win. Cheers for listening to the Blue Room. We'll speak to you very soon.